I'm live, I'm belated, and you wanted one, and guess what you're going to get?
Oh,
That's part of your belated Christmas present.
Oh, well, thank you so much.
I couldn't tell you that I already ordered you one. It's a Just to Serve TV, so when you go into court, oh, Domino even likes it. There it is, Michael Bryant.
Thank you so much. It's in the mail, as they say. I appreciate that.
It's
Thank
coming.
you.
It's coming.
So, what do we got? We got the Uvalde verdict, which came a couple of hours after we left you last night. We have not only that, but we have a little look back. The parents obviously have a very different reaction than those who believed that this officer should not have been found guilty, and he was not. But what the parents had to say back a year or so ago and what they have to say now, you're not going to believe some of it.
Justice, where are you? Michael and Linda are here.
Love you, Linda.
The world is justice. Will we ever find justice?
The courthouse the other day in the hallway, you're singing
Will
"Oh
we
Happy
know
Day."
justice when we see it? To be and Damila lead the way. Hoping justice will win the day. It's Nary Clues, finding justice where we can. Join us now, we're on the run. Justice is waiting, we'll see it done.
All righty then. Just a note I had to myself. Book club next Wednesday. Don't forget, Jodine Weber. We'll be doing that 2 o'clock Wednesday. Members only. She's fired up. I'm fired up. Hope you're fired up. We'll do that on Wednesday. Okay.
That's great. Great. And one of these days I'll get back to Stephanie Vilko, but there's reasons why we haven't done the second episode for the members yet. And when we do it, you'll understand why.
All right. So anyway. Okay, rip something and read something.
All right, so I have a lot of rip and reads tonight.
Okay.
Besides, I was thinking about your Christmas present being rip and read a part of it, but it not. I want to talk about this first, okay? All right, I saw this in the New York Post, and we have to comment on it. Wife stabs estranged husband after learning he euthanized their rescue dogs. She just saw red. And she has stood trial for attempted murder after stabbing her husband of 40 years, Keith Bridger, in the chest and abdomen after he told her he put down her pups. Now, I have to find out what happens to this, but I want to ask you in the chat, is this murder? Is this murder, or was it the murder of the dogs and she is not guilty by reason of temporary insanity? All right, I throw that out for that.
Or was it involuntary manslaughter? Was it heat of passion? That kind of thing. Was there anything wrong with the dog? Was it, was he putting the dog down because it was ill?
2 cherished rescued dachshunds is all I know. I can't imagine.
It doesn't look like a dachshund.
Well, that doesn't look. I know, but it's maybe it's. I don't know.
What's going on here?
Whatever it is, I want to weigh in on this, and let's find out. Let's find out more about this, because if I came home, I'm going to tell you this because I know my husband is listening right now, and I've heard that Michael had taken Tubi because he wanted to get rid of him, and to the vet and had him euthanized. I would be a mad woman.
That might be a problem. Yeah, I think that'd be a problem.
I'm Italian, okay? I would be a mad woman. I just say that right up front, right now, so that you all have it and you can come back on me. So, Michael, don't touch Tubi.
Dr. Baden, don't touch the dog. So this just intrigues me to know more. I got to know more because, especially when they're talking dachshunds and I'm seeing like a terrier. Anyway, anybody wants to add to the story, please send that along.
Yeah, please add to the story, let us know, and then chat about it, okay?
And a happily angry lawyer says she only stabbed him once. Is that right? Is that right?
Boy, I tell you what, that shows some restraint, I think.
Yeah.
So
what has she been charged with? She's been charged with assault or what? With murder? Or attempted murder? Did he die?
No, attempted murder.
Okay, attempted murder.
He should be charged with murder. Okay, that's.
Then we get into the whole pet versus property discussion. This was what state?
This is in. It's not in the state. I think it's in Australia.
Oh, in Australia. Well, mate, crikey, they got problems there, mate.
All right. Well, we'll see. All right. Everybody has to go look it up more. I didn't have time to read the article.
Thanks for that.
I just saw the headline, and this goes to show you. All I cared about was the headline. So look up the article for me. Let's put it in the chat. I mean. let's get this chat going here. Okay, she's a Brit. Oh, I know she's a British dog owner. Okay, so, but she
Okay.
could be a British dog owner anywhere. All right. Okay. So
Okay.
anyhow, that was my
Crack
first.
staff
rip and
is
read.
on it. Okay.
Okay. All of our viewers, come on, let's go. Hey, chat. Thank you, happy angry lawyer Jim, who I told you all last night. I disclosed, Jim, that Monk was your first criminal case, not your first one ever. Yeah, first
Antonio
ever.
Sledge.
Yeah, and
Yes.
Missy,
Hiya,
maybe
Granny Debbie.
we can put the link to Jim's appearance on Justice Serve TV in here, because you should all go listen to that. He's fabulous. He's wonderful to listen to.
Yep. And many people think the biggest victim of YSL was Montauk, but it looks like there's a little bit of sunshine coming his way. Okay, what else you got? What's next?
Okay, I have this was late in the game, and now I don't know how I make that a little bit so you can read it, but I can read it. It said breaking. This is from Max Lewis TV. It was 29 minutes ago when I pulled it, which is about 29 minutes ago too. The FBI is investigating the death of former Colts owner Jim Irsay and the doctor that was reportedly supplying him with huge amounts of opioids and ketamine injections.
Whoa.
The same doctor signed Irsay's death certificate and ruled it natural. And this is from the Washington Post, so I think it's probably a fairly legitimate report. I sat next to Jim Irsay when I first moved to New York, when the scroll of who was the guy who went on the road. I can't think of it. You had the scroll of thousands of pages. It's famous. And he was at Christie's, and I had never been to an auction, and he came in just for that, and he sat right next to me, okay? And then he started bidding. I was scared to put my hand up, because this was a lot like bidding in, I'm going to Woolworth or a Five and Dime
You don't only scratch your nose, or it could cost
I didn't want to do
money.
anything, because it went for millions and millions of dollars. So I remember sitting next to him and being petrified of bidding, and then being like, "Wow, this was an experience." So it will be. This is new today, so we'll keep up on this.
So they're concerned he Matthew parried Irsay. Is that what you're saying?
Yes, Matthew Perry and Irsay. That would be an interesting thing if that happened. His daughters own the team now, and the one daughter really is very involved. She wears the headphones and all. And the Colts, until they lost their quarterback, were doing pretty well. Remember, the Colts were at the head of the division.
Yeah, and it was a great story too, because they brought in the 44-year-old guy off the bench. Or is he 3 years he hadn't played? I can't remember his name now. But it was very entertaining. He almost won a game or two. So
Philip Rivers, they brought him in.
Philip Rivers,
Philip Rivers, after. But he was, at least it was entertaining. He was wonderful. He's a terrific quarterback.
I was very excited for the guy. 44, and he did not embarrass himself.
Yeah.
Okay.
Wow.
Next.
Boy, you get becoming ageism here. A little ageism.
Yeah.
Okay. You want me to go on? Because I have more.
Please do. Please. Could I stop you?
I have to put this on. And this is, I know it's a little bit political. I know it's a little bit, but this is ICE, and this is in Minnesota, where.
Man, those ICE officers they're hiring younger and younger now. That's really
that'd be great if they were hiring, but instead they detained him and have taken him away from school and transported him and his father to a detention center. When the two have asylum, they came through a regular protocol, were granted asylum here, apparently using the child to get to maybe a grandfather who was not didn't have proper papers or whatever. But I'm sorry. I think that you shouldn't take a 5-year-old and take him like this. Look at him. Look at this. This is a 5-year-old.
Should they have separated him from the father?
They shouldn't have taken the father either if they both had asylum. I mean, why detain the 5-year-old? They had the 5-year-old go up to the door and knock and then detain him. I'm sorry. I just think that is wrong. The school came out. His school came out in total opposition, that the role is to educate children during the day, and this is just shatters them with this kid. Look at this. Come on, Michael. If they arrested you and I
will withhold judgment until I know more about the story, but it's a heartwarming picture. I get it. There's a little kid. I get that. Okay.
I'm not withholding judgment. You know that.
Well, no sense jumping to conclusions. Okay, next.
What do we have a show for? We can't jump to something.
Bittersweet says read the entire report, Linda. So I don't know.
No, I read the entire report. I still think he shouldn't have been detained. I mean, the father and he both had asylum papers, They were after the grandfather. I said the grandfather probably was here illegally, but this kid was granted asylum and did have asylum papers. And I just don't think you should take kids to these places. I mean, I just don't
Well,
think you should.
I think it might have been Vice President Vance said, if we have people that we're targeting, do we just not do anything because they have kids? Is that the way it's supposed
Well,
to work?
then what do you do? Just you put them up there against? I mean, come on, Michael. Even a grown up would be scared, but this is a little kid. All right, so maybe
I'm looking at his face.
Look, I could go. You could go give him at least give him a toy or something. Give him a big
Give him
stuffed
a
animal.
toy. You're basing all this on one still photo?
Yes,
okay.
I am.
Okay, moving on.
Okay,
Moving on.
Look at that. Okay, let's see what else that I have here. I'll have you, but that's not good. Okay, all right. I'm just kidding you. All right, 2 announcements to make. We are going to be doing next week the Paul Canero case. Chaz Giuliano, a fan favorite, as it turned out. We got a lot of comments. Love Chaz Giuliano. Charles Giuliano is his given name, but everyone knows him. Chaz, Monmouth County, has been in the courtroom. He's been going in for us and listening.
He was great last week. He was great.
Let me put it this way. He's been going in as much as he could. And today he had some comments that I will let him explain about the prosecution and the defense, and the good comments for the judge, obviously. But there was an article that the Canero actually, at the beginning of the trial, which we didn't know about, his girlfriend was on the stand. It turns out that he had a mistress, but the judge kept out her relationship to the jury. So we'll discuss more about that, about what the jury is not hearing and what the relevance is.
So that was that they couldn't get into that. It was a limine motion to not reference her relationship.
And remember, this Judge Lemieux, who was the first assistant prosecutor, so he's not, he's fair, is what it is. Isn't it wonderful to have a fair judge? Okay.
Crazy idea. And his stress ball is getting a workout. Those might remember that he was given a stress ball, and I'm sure he's punctured that thing.
Yes. Somebody gave me a stress ball if I have to have an injection. If I don't need a stress ball for an injection, just give me the injection.
I mean, just like a shot, just like a regular old shot.
Yeah, like apparently. Well, they say now that if you hold the ball, that your veins open up. I'm going to ask my husband about.
Well, if you donate blood, that's exactly what happens. They have you grip something.
Was that it? Okay.
Yeah, you give blood,
they gave it to me beforehand. I mean, maybe it's a stress ball. All I can think of the ball is, where's Tubi? Can I throw it? Can I throw it the ball to Tubi? Okay. And then we also either Monday or Tuesday night. Well, I know there's a big snowstorm coming, and that's why we moved Chaz to Tuesday, because the likelihood of there being court Monday in Canero is slim to none. But we do have another case out of Monmouth County, and I'm a Monmouth County girl from Red Bank, New Jersey. Bruce Springsteen country. I'm proud of it, okay? I'll take my Jersey accent anywhere, and I will try a case anywhere, and I will win. All right, because that's what I do. I win. All right. I kind of liked the coach of Indiana for that, right? Google me. I win. All right. Anyhow, the woman who killed her 2 children in Monmouth County granted clemency by outgoing Governor Murphy. I mean, he's giving out pardons like somebody else we know. I don't care what political party you are. All right. This is clemency. This is a woman who lit her 2 children on fire, let them burn in a car. All right. Now,
and
the
this
reason
is who,
why
Jersey.
This is not. It's in New Jersey. Her name is Maria Montalvo.
Now, who gave the pardon? The governor.
The governor. His last day in office, Governor Murphy.
Yeah, out the door.
All right, out the door. All right. She lit her kids on fire, and the car burst into flames. She went and got gas. I represent one of the family members of these kids. All right. His name is Tomas Montalvo. He will be on the air with us. He is livid. He came to me when they first said, they're never going to give her clemency. They're never going to pardon her. And he made his feelings known. And then he got in the mail just 2 days ago, and I was supposed to help fill them out. And I said, look, why don't you have the person they asked you to help fill it out, okay, the form. And then he gets up this morning or yesterday morning, and she's got clemency already, which means she can apply to get out. The jury was hung. You know what they were hung on? They were hung on whether they would give her 100 years in jail or the death penalty when they tried this case. All right. They ended up giving her 100 years in jail. It's a horrible, horrible case. Look it up, Maria Montalvo. I don't think I have this loaded because I do want Tomas to talk about it. Tomas has been my client for a long time, and I will tell you my relationship with Tomas Montalvo. I represented him when his brother was killed, shot in the back by the police department, in Union Beach Police Department. This is the same town Maria Montalvo was in. So I represented his brother. His brother would die, but I represented the estate through Tomas Montalvo for the child of the dead person. So he's been my client for a very long time. He is livid. And you know what? You will be too when you hear the whole story. But in the meantime, you can Google it. Look it up. Woman who killed 2 children in Monmouth County granted clemency by outgoing Governor Murphy. Her name is Maria Montalvo, Montalvo.
Okay.
And we're
So
going
I'm
to do
put
that
that in
Monday and
the
Tuesday.
strike against that county. Okay, I'm sorry, but that's a strike against the
Well,
county.
you know what's amazing? We're going to be covering Paul Canero, right?
So I hear. Yes.
Which involves fire and deaths of 4 people and fires. And this is a woman who lit her kids on fire, and she's granted clemency. Okay.
Yeah, there's no explaining stuff like that. I'm sorry, there's not. Okay, I have a couple of quick things, real quick. Actually, Canero, I'll dovetail with Canero. They are still going today, and today there was a neighbor on that testified that he heard shots in the middle of the night. He I thought this was odd, but he calls 911 and says, "Can you hunt at night in Colts Neck? Is that?" And the person, of course, said, "Well, no, you can't." And he said, "Well, I'm hearing shots." So he was hearing the shots that were happening in the Colts Neck residence the night that everybody died. So,
wow, hearing shots. What were the shots?
yeah, well, he said he described them as bum, 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 and then one boom.
Oh,
so
does that maybe light some fire? Could you light a fire with shots?
Well,
I ask you because
if
you know
into a
guns.
fuel, if you shot into a fuel can, you could, but I don't think that's the issue here. Maybe there was a second firearm, like a shotgun, makes more of a boom, and guns might be more bum, 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 like that. But anyway, I thought interesting testimony from a neighbor. So we'll get back into that as next week rolls on, and we're going to go out there one day. We haven't.
I'm going to be. I'm going.
You're going Thursday.
I've made arrangements to meet Chaz Giuliano there. He's got to be there for an appearance anyhow, and I will meet him next Thursday.
Where are they in the process? Are they getting?
Well, that's what I have to find out. Are they close to I hope I don't get there the day that they're going to sum up, and then I'll never get a seat in the courtroom.
Well, that's true. That's true. Okay, because if they
but Monday's going to be a snow day.
It's going to be a snow day.
Apparently, the offices are already closing down there.
If they do, because they're talking about a foot of snow, give or take. If they do continue into the following week, because I'll be up in Massachusetts, Baden, Thursday, Friday. Every time I say Baden, people go, "Don't make fun of the accent." So I'm just imitating. I'm not making fun of it. Anyway, so yeah, I would like to go the following week if it's still doing something.
Yeah, that'd be great if you went to the scenes, because you're great interviewing people and going to the scenes.
I'll
Did
bug
you see
some
on
people.
Jimmy Kimmel? I think it was what was it? The Matt Damon and a bunch of other people said every name of every town in Massachusetts with the Massachusetts accent. And so we probably should find that.
Yeah, that'd be great. Every time I've gone up there, I try to find one of those towns that has a weird pronunciation based on the spelling, like Peabody, Peabody, which most people would say is Peabody. No, that's Peabody.
Or Athol.
Which one?
Athol.
I don't know Athol. I don't know that one. How do you spell that?
You can tell you can tell by what it Athol. You can tell by what it sounds like, what people say it is. And, yeah.
Okay. So that's the Canario crossover. But the other, Nicki Minaj had an interesting legal experience. Her security guards were suing her for lack of payment. $500,000.
Nicki Minaj?
Yeah, $500,000, and they got a default judgment. And for those. And I should mention at this point, I'm doing a small claims special pretty soon because I think it's so important for people to understand what they can do in their own lives.
I was telling, by the way, I was telling somebody today that you're going to be doing that because I said you should file a small claims.
You could go after big airlines, and it works. So we're going to get into that. But this was not a small claims case because it was $500,000, a little over the jurisdictional limit of most small claims. But they get a default judgment, meaning she never even addresses the case. And what happens if you get a default judgment? You need to collect, right? They were going to put a lien on her $20 million house. And so she somehow found the money and wrote him a check for $500,000. So.
Well, I once did that. I once had a default judgment against Clarence Clemens of the Bruce Springsteen band in Monmouth County. And then, and I was about to actually, get the judgment. It was a default, right? I wanted the judgment, okay? Because the difference between a default and a judgment. And actually, no, I got the judgment, and I was about to execute on it, and they came in and they said, and the judge, because it was Clarence Clemens, let the default judgment go back. I mean, undid it. Wave my magic wand, undone. Usually, you can't do that. And it went back, and then it settled. Case settled.
Yeah, things like that happen. Yeah, and what you do after you get a default is you generally have a prove-up hearing of some sort. You can't just make up a number. I need this much money, and then I go, okay, here, go get it. you have to have a prove-up hearing to establish that you are owed that amount, whatever it may be. So, okay, I guess we're done with all of that crap. Oh, we're out of time.
Well, no,
Go.
it wasn't crap. This was not just a rip and read. It was also an update, rip and read, and updates as to what's happening. And I think it was important. So you know where we're going. Oh, and if we look further, on February 10th or 11th, so mark your calendars, I will have Andrew Goldman on. He will be discussing his 11-part podcast on my client, Michael Skakel. It just finished. It's top of Apple. If you go to, it's called Dead Certain. I'm in episode 8. So if you want to start listening to it, you find it easily. So when we get to February 10th and 11th, Andrew Goldman, when he comes on, you'll be away. We're doing at least one whole episode, one whole hour just on Michael Skakel. And we may have some surprises for you.
Ooh, surprises. I can't wait to see those on replay. Okay, so as everybody knows, the Uvalde decision came down last night. Adrian Gonzales, one of the first officers from the PD there, arrives on the scene, according to the prosecution, failed to comply with his legal duty to take care of or prevent injury or death to the children in the school, the Robb Elementary School. 29 counts. That was 19 of the children killed, 10 of them that were injured but survived. Not guilty on all counts. And it was the verdict form was huge because they basically had one page per victim. And they had one cover sheet that if it was not guilty and it applied to all of them, it happened like that. So after the fact, we heard from the team. Let's see, what do I need to do to get that on here? We got something else still on the screen?
No, just us. You
just us. I mean, behind the scenes. Behind the scenes.
Let me look now.
Yeah, no, like that.
Maybe, is that still? I'll remove. Okay.
There you go.
All right.
And then remove that.
Another one. Remove that.
You're hogging my space.
I am just removing these pictures from the studio, period. And if you remove them,
there we go.
Studio,
okay, so here we have the team, and we are reaching out to Mr. LaHood, who was one of the defense attorneys. I just think he's a fascinating dude. So we'll see if he bites and will come on and chat with us. Let's check that volume. Missy, help with this?
But we also know that there's families on the other side that are dealing with this new normal that they've had for 3 years and they're still in pain. So this was a disappointment for them. So we acknowledge that. I mean, if you know my family story, I mean, my brother was taken from us, and I know I've seen it. I understand it to that extent. I've been praying for them. We pray for them. We're sorry that they feel that way. We understand that their separation from their loved one is going to be felt as long as they walk on this earth, and we don't ignore that. We acknowledge that. I'm just going to continue to pray for them. So I'm very sorry that they feel that way. We didn't get a lot of time with them because then everyone couldn't leave until they left, but they were gracious enough to stay back.
Missy, I don't know if you can boost this or not. I've got all the volume out of it. I can.
It was emotional for them, you can tell. They said there was gaps in the evidence. They appreciated us bringing out those gaps. They considered everything. They were very diligent. They worked very hard back there. They were very mindful and deliberate. We didn't ask them what the split was initially because there was not a lot of time for that. But obviously they were saddened because they know what the other families are mourning still. But they said there was a lot of gaps in the evidence and some of it didn't make sense to them. Well, I don't know if this case wasn't about us trying to send a message other than to consider all the evidence. I mean, we felt Adrian was innocent from the beginning when we analyzed the situation. We knew it was going to be a challenging case because of the emotions, the sheer emotions behind it, and those precious babies being taken from those families. And so we knew that. Well, I guess for us, as former prosecutors and defense attorneys, we would like to see more training with law enforcement in these situations that are so active and fluid and dangerous. And there's no one-size-fits-all for these situations, but also working with the schools. I think the schools need more funding. So that's a longer discussion.
Yeah, I think we did consider it. As far as why they didn't call him, I think it was pretty clear that as the trial developed and we saw what they were trying to accuse Adrian of, we saw that there were actually other officers that were in better situations. And I mean, just as a former prosecutor like we were, I don't know that comparison was going to help their case. And so by calling these other witnesses that had line of sight to the shooter, that had these other things that Adrian never had, it was just highlighting again, which we highlighted without them there. And so as far as your question about whether or not we thought about calling them, the fact that the state didn't said a lot to us, and we believe said a lot to the jury, and we were able to get out our point of view on that with their evidence and the lack of who they called. And so I think that's why. And to add to Nico's thing about training, this is the first time in Texas that an officer's training has been used as a mallet or as a cudgel against the officer. And one of the problems with the training, as we kind of saw from the evidence, is that it's confusing, is that it sends mixed messages. And its purpose was never to have somebody be prosecuted who went through a class because they weren't able to perfectly gather everything about a training or be able to apply that training in a situation that the training never contemplated. And so, I mean, I think that for law enforcement, I think that it is a wake-up call for them that they need to be aware that their training is being used by prosecutors to criminally prosecute police officers. And honestly, in this case, it wasn't right to do that to Adrian. It wasn't fair to do that to Adrian. And it's not fair to do that to any officer because everybody out there was trying to do what they thought was right. And we know that there were failures, but it wasn't because they wanted to fail. It's because they were trying to do what they thought was right. And just going by a training and trying to use that as part of the indictment, that was count 2 of the indictment, is going to be, that would be a problem, I think, and it needs to be addressed. Whether that's, having officers, having the training people say specifically on the packet, this is not intended to be used as a criminal prosecution against any officer who goes through this training. So that was a big thing that we saw throughout. And I think also to talk about what Nico said, we wanted these facts to come out because as the facts come out and we see what Adrian actually was doing and what he was putting his life at risk to try to help those children. He was. That's what the proof, the prosecution didn't dispute that. The proof that everybody saw and everybody was able to see showed that Adrian was willing to risk his life and did. And that we were glad that the jury saw that. We were glad that came out.
And that wasn't part of the narrative this whole time. And so that was challenging because everybody heard about this case. During jury selection, this whole room had 450 people in it. And everybody raised their hand that they had heard about this case. Now, the extent of what they heard and where they made up their mind, of course, we're doing that questioning back and forth. We had a questionnaire as well. And so that was a challenging part of this case as well because there was a narrative out there. And frankly, with all due respect, there was a false narrative out there. And so the true monster in this situation was lost, and then it was all directed at Adrian. And so that was an uphill battle from day one in this case. I don't think anybody's had a voir dire this way, and it was new for us as well. And we've tried a lot of cases together as prosecutors and defense attorneys. And it was unique. I mean, just the sheer size of the veneer panel was unique. And so, that was unique and that was different, but we had to deal with it. We had a plan dealing with it from day one. We had a strategy going into voir dire, to opening statements, to the way we were going to present evidence and how we felt that we were going to use the government's witnesses to bring out points and then wrap it up in closing. And then what we decided at the last minute to not call witnesses because you're always trying to figure out where you're at with the jury based off how the evidence is going from the government. So those are game time decisions that we had to make. No, you can ask it that way. And I asked the jury that specifically. And they said no. They thought it was appropriate. And you're talking about Ranger Hill? To whom? Well, I was referencing Ranger Hill. I mean, because you never know, and obviously I didn't take that tone with every witness. The jury said that it was appropriate.
Nexus Lexus, now the air conditioning comes on, making it even more difficult. But I think it's worth, just a few more minutes. We'll just, bear with.
Right, and you can't hear the questions because they didn't give any.
Yes,
mic.
they didn't mic the reporters. And this is a good lesson for anybody that ends up in a presser of some sort. Repeat the question. You know, somebody says, and through his Q&A, you get a sense of what it was about. Oh, the Ranger Hill, who he used as an example in his closing. But yeah, just take that question and incorporate it into your answer.
And that's why I did it. And because so yeah, I did. I think about that often. We all do when we're cross-examining witnesses. Obviously, we don't start out that way, but we have to respond appropriately based off the witness, and we prepare them in voir dire, by the way.
On the East Coast, it's known as voir dire.
Just about the
that's-
gaps. They talked about.
I call it voir dire. Did he say voir dire?
Yes, he said voir dire.
Yeah, I can go either way on that.
Gaps. They talked about perspective, and you know what the government didn't prove on Adrian, and then they saw what he did do, and based off with officers, they were very attentive, and they listened, obviously, very directly, and it seemed like they were catching our theme develop as the trial went on. We didn't have a lot of time with it. We let the government speak first. Christina wanted to talk to them and really get into it, and I knew that it was very personal to her because of the community. So we kind of yielded our time to her with them, and then the judge called us out.
First things first, I want to start by thanking God for this, my family, my wife, and these guys right here. He put them in my path, you know, and I'm just thankful for that. And thank you for the jury for considering all the evidence and making that verdict. No, not right now.
As lawyers?
Well,
from Mr. Gonzales.
Talking to Adrian right now, obviously it's very emotional. So, but I can tell you, I think any one of you can imagine that everybody who's been here, sorry, give me in the mic. Everybody who's sitting in front of us right now, I mean, y'all can't see, I mean, the people that are watching, you can't see it, but I can see just a wall of people in front of me. And that wall of people has been reporting on Uvalde, and not necessarily unfairly, but it has been reporting ever since Adrian was charged that he failed to do his duty, because that's what the prosecutors charged, and that he failed in some way to try to do everything he could to help these children. And the evidence showed that that wasn't true. And the evidence showed that not only did he not fail, but he put himself in great danger. So you can imagine how somebody who has had the entire country look at him as somebody who was not willing to do his duty. He is a proud man who does do his duty. And he went in there when it was time for him to go. He went in there, he was one of the first 5 in. And going down a hall where a rifleman, a gunman with a rifle, could have easily ended his life, could have easily made his wife a widow. He was willing to do it because he did want to protect those children. So he went through all of that. And so the feeling that he's communicated, and that he'll be able to communicate, I think, in the future, is that it was obviously extremely difficult. It was difficult for the community, difficult for his family, difficult for him.
Nico and Adrian, you guys shared a pretty powerful hug right after that verdict. Walk me through the emotion.
I mean, it's overwhelming for him. For us as well, we take on the burdens of our clients. We take it very personally. For me, I believe it's about stewardship. When a client comes to us as a firm and says, "I trust you with my life," I mean, it's not. I take that very serious. I don't sleep. I'm a prayerful man. I pray for wisdom in how to handle and how to conduct ourselves in trial and to think. And for us, we got to make sure that nobody's going to outwork us. And so, for us, it was kind of a culmination of his trust in us and our hard work together. And we didn't do it alone. These 2 lawyers are amazing. I learn from them every day. But then we have Michelle and Joseph as well, and then the team back at the office. So it was bittersweet, bitter because we know that there's people that are sad over this verdict. And as someone who's gone through the loss of my brother who was murdered in my driveway, and I know what it did to my parents, so I felt for the family. I thought of the family. I was hugging him, for us, and for the family members, to be honest with you. Well, I'm not going to make a charging decision for Christina. She's the elected DA, and she has to answer to her voters. But to make that, yeah.
You brought him up to the jury.
I'll reserve my judgment on that, my comment on that.
So why do you think they have to charge anybody else? I mean, went from EPS all the way down, and they look it up down at local.
I'm not going to speak for Chief Arredondo. I think for Adrian, it's what we said in closing. He was the lowest man on the totem pole, and I think they thought he was easier pickings. I mean, I'm not speaking to Christina's intention. I mean, I'm not saying it was, with bad, with immoral or anything like that or unethical. But I mean, I just thought they probably thought he was the easiest one to charge, my opinion.
Very few of us have that access to that thing. Is there something that the country can learn, law enforcement, from this based on your experience, based on what you see here? This is going to happen. Sadly.
Well, there's a lot. I mean, this is a synergistic effect. When I said in closing that if that school door would have been locked, if those classroom doors would have been locked, if they had cameras on the outside of the schools, if we had officers that to Jason's point, had clarity in their training and then had the resources of what to do, if there was officers assigned to schools with the right equipment, with a long rifle, with handguns. I know it looks bad for people, but this looks even worse, and it feels worse for those precious families. I mean, so what is it going to cost us to protect our treasure, which is our children? We should say there's no cost. Money should be no object. And so if you want to make difference, you have to bring everyone together, training in shoot houses, meaning actively train in realistic scenarios so these officers will, as they say, fight like they train. You have to train. You can't just do PowerPoints and think that someone has information it's going to sink in. This is muscle memory as it came up during trial. So this is a longer conversation that I'm happy to have because we've seen situations like this before, but it's a synergistic effect of many of the things that I just mentioned.
Just picking up the pieces and moving forward. That's it. No.
I hope not. I hope other prosecutors don't see this case and think that they can go forward with these specific facts, with the law that they use as a case of first impression, with the training that the officers did or didn't have, with the resources that were not provided for them, with the school district that unfortunately did not provide the best situation for those children. I hope this is not the example moving forward, and I don't think it will be, but I can't make that decision.
The families are distraught, scared.
I'll continue to pray for them. I mean, I can't. To say that I understand, I've experienced that with my own family and with my brother's passing, but I mean, it's a genuine hurt for them. It was bittersweet. There's no winners in this situation because they're still mourning, and I understand that.
All right, so a couple of observations. Let's chat about this. First of all, the defendant, who was stoic through this whole thing, he never really showed any emotion of any kind. Are you hearing another audio?
No.
Maybe it's me just echoing in my head. And you could see how emotional he was just in those few little bits and pieces that he gave the press. He didn't have a lot to say, but what he said, you could tell he was overcome. His wife was there, and we know he had a child in the school. So quite the drama from the defendant. Your thoughts on him?
I wish he had expressed some regret to the parents of the children. I know that he's probably been told not to because of any civil suits or whatever. But I also think that he's also damaged. I mean, because my view is that he's a scapegoat, that he did get some of the children out, that he did run down that hallway, that he didn't even know where the shooter was at the time. And that I can't get out of my mind the picture of all those other officers standing in the hallways for how many minutes? Was it
77 minutes? Yeah.
And some of them using hand sanitizers, and they had big rifles and big guns and big tactical packs and big tactical gear. And there you have Adrian Gonzales, who's the school resource officer, who just has a sidearm because he's not supposed to scare the kids, right? So I think that he did what he could do. And quite frankly, I don't think anything else that he would have done would have changed it. What needed to be done was there had to be police procedure, and there had to be somebody in charge that said, storm that classroom now. All right.
Yeah, well, they kept waiting for that official word. And just to make the record clear, he was not a resource officer. He was not assigned to that school. He just happened to be assigned to that event as it unfolded that day. They had no resource
day.
officer. So a couple
I
of
think they
things.
called him a resource officer though in the trial. They called
Well,
him
if they did, that was a mistake because he
Okay.
clearly was not, and they made a point of saying they don't have one. So Chief Arredondo is the next up, and his
Right.
attorney thinks the charges will be dismissed against him in light of this verdict. He has no trial date yet.
Oh, his indictment's different. His indictment is different.
It is. It's only 10 counts, right?
Right.
And they had some issues in the delaying of the trial. I've never really understood why they did Gonzales before him, but they did, obviously, and now the impact of this Gonzales acquittal may affect whether they go forward against the chief, and he is the chief of a 6-person department. He actually had some negotiating with the shooter. He had a much more direct connection to what was going on in the classroom or classrooms. They were 2 adjoining classrooms at the time. So arguably, he was in a position of authority and in a better position practically to deal with the situation, certainly closer to it than Gonzales was.
Yeah, and his indictment is on the internet. Yeah, we have pulled it just to see the first page. It only charges 10 counts of child endangerment as opposed to the 29 counts, right? Because Gonzales's indictment charged both the kids who died and the 10 kids who survived. The chief, Arredondo's indictment, only charges child endangerment for the 10 kids who survived, who were hurt. And then it also lists, by the way, much different in terms of Gonzales's indictment. It lists the specific A through J deficiencies that it felt the chief didn't do, didn't act, failed to respond, that call for and I'm not sure. One of the things I was going to ask you, whether this has to, all these deficiencies have to be proven, or just some of them beyond a reasonable doubt for child endangerment. So you can read it. It's really too long for us to read unless we were going to be here for 3 hours. But it basically says, let me just read you the small a, and that'd be on page 2. After hearing shots fired, okay. After hearing shots fired in a room at Robb Elementary School, failed to identify the incident as an active shooter incident, failed to respond and trained to an active shooter incident, and instead called SWAT, thereby delaying the response by law enforcement officers to an active shooter who was hunting and shooting a child or children in room 112 at the Robb Elementary School. And then it goes on, A through J, as to the deficiency that says the chief did with regard to the children who survived.
Yeah. So, and here's a clarification on the resource officer. This is, as I recall, a resource officer for the high school. They didn't have one at Robb Elementary School.
Okay.
Yeah,
so that's why they may have called him a resource officer, but not for that school.
Yeah. On that day, he was not acting as a resource officer. So, since we've heard from the defense, let's listen now to how some of these parents reacted after the fact.
Respect the jury's decision, but it just what message is sent out there. That if you're an officer, you can simply stand by, stand down, stand idle, and not do anything and wait for everybody to be executed, killed, slaughtered, massacred? Is that the message that you sent today? Faith is fractured, but you never lose faith. You don't lose faith because these children that are no longer with us, that are at the cemetery, they can't speak for themselves. The next trial is going to matter. Do not let these issues that arose come up again. Look at it. You find a way to appeal it if you can on Adrian Gonzales. But in the future, for Arredondo, you have to demonstrate that not everybody was at fault, but that the focus is on Arredondo. That's my message to the DA.
Yeah, so we'll find out if there is a trial to have a focus on Arredondo or not. So I get the feeling that the DA will go forward.
I do too. I think that it's also a different burden of proof, not different burden of proof, but different proofs, because this is the chief who is being.
I think it's a better case. I think for the prosecution, it's a better case.
I do too.
I mean, I can't wait to hear more about what interaction he had with the shooter, all of that timing.
Right.
I mean, when he was, he's in charge of the 6 guys that are already there. I want to show something one of our viewers sent us, because part of the issue and really part of the blame game was, hey, all of these doors that were unlocked, one was propped open, they used the magnets. Teachers were given or used, even if not given officially, these magnets that help them kind of override the locking mechanism. All
Right.
these things that would have made shooters access to the school a whole lot easier. So one of our viewers sent this. We're not saying this is the version of system that was on the subject school, but this is how they use it in a given situation. Their lockdown magnet. How to prepare: lock the door, cover the latch plate with magnetic strip, keep door locked, open and close the door with the magnet strip in place. During a lockdown, remove the magnet strip and close the door so that the magnet can't be overridden. You can't take your magnet, whatever that form is, hold it against the door and open the door that way. You basically are making it more difficult to get into the classroom. It was an issue in this case. I don't know if it mattered to the jury. It'd be interesting to find out at some point if they felt that it was important, right?
Right, whether they thought that the door should have been closed to begin with, and there was a failing of the teachers. That's a slippery. That's a tough one. If
Oh
you're
yeah, and
trying
we
to
know
take
at least one of
Gonzales, that's hard.
the teachers, the one that had propped the door open, we know she was going through some pretty serious guilt tripping because people were blaming her.
Right.
She had propped open the door, and might as well put out the welcome mat. But who thinks that a shooter is? I guess these days we have to think about it more often. Even 3 years ago, we had to think about it. So speaking of flashback, this occurs back in 2022, right? I want to make sure I get the date right. It was the end of school year 22. Yeah, 5/24. And about a year and a half later, they had a public meeting in which somebody hired by the school district and by the local authorities to investigate. He was an Austin cop. His name was, I got his name here somewhere, Jesse Prado. He's hired from the Austin PD to do an independent investigation. Any guess what his ultimate conclusion was about the role the cops played in this?
Let me see. Let me think back to the Karen Reed
Yeah.
case and the Canton Police Department and Sandra Birchmore and all. Nothing. They did nothing wrong.
They
right?
did everything perfect. So they have a meeting to display and go into with the town, and primarily it's going to be the parents, right? The report. And well, what do you think? Was it properly done? Was it not properly done? So let's listen to what they had to say. These are parents that are so outraged, and they're then hearing this report saying, "No, we did everything just fine. Don't
Michael,
don't
we're
worry
getting
about
a lot of viewers are saying you're echoing. Do you have a second window open?
I don't think so, but let me see. Let me double check. Yeah, I could hear it myself in my IFB, but I see only one tab open. That's all I got.
Okay.
Yeah, that's all I got. Where am I? Here am I. Oh, here we go. Let me get this thing going.
I was following the directions I was given, sir.
You said they said he wasn't commenting. How dare you? How dare you? You were paid by them, and you just came out and, what was that, a deposition? You said that he was waiting to shoot them like the video games? Of course. That's why they line up, is it not? So that the first one can take it and the others can take this person down? You said that it was best, that there was no way to go in. It was for their safety. It was not for the safety of children. How dare you? And you want the DA to give you a report for what? You have like zero reading comprehension. I know some of you. I have worked with some of you before I lost Lexi, and I am asking you to do what no one else has done yet. Do the right thing. It is not about a recommendation. It's about doing the right thing. There were multiple law enforcement officers from multiple agencies that stood by for 77 minutes as children and teachers died, and I'm not going to stand by. There are a number of people that I would like to discuss, but today I planned on discussing three people. Three people who had the opportunity to go in 11:37. Before then, before 11:55, when you said, Pete Arredondo said, wait for the keys or wait to evacuate rooms. Three officers went towards gunfire. They knew what to do. They did that in the beginning. They went toward the gunfire and then they retreated. Canales and Landry and Javi Martinez at the time were members of the department SWAT team. They had active shooter training and they knew what to do.
And she's mentioned three officers that we heard a little bit about during the trial, but obviously they were not defendants and there doesn't seem to be a plan to make them defendants. This was March 24, I think it was, March 3rd of 2024.
They chose their lives over the lives of children and teachers, and there is no policy change will eliminate their fear and their hesitation to do what is right in the positions they serve, and for that, they should be terminated. And if Lieutenant Javi Martinez cannot get a few people to follow him, how is he helping lead a whole department? I want you to think about the people that you love most in this world, your children, a spouse, a parent. You think about them huddled together in a dark room with a deranged person with an AR-15. Somebody calls 911. Help is on the way. Are these the people that you want responding to your loved ones? Guaranteed it's not. We keep getting kicked while we're already down. It's just blow after blow. And all I heard today was it's the school's fault. It was some of the training instructors. Well, it's because y'all don't serve them, so you're fine saying it's their fault. What you're not fine saying is that it's y'all's fault. Do what's right, terminate them. Change policy. There are people in this department that can benefit from a policy change. They will learn, they will be better, and they will be able to serve. Even some of the ones there, I get it. They were a patrol officer that was there for a year, 2 years, is not going to take command of a situation like this if his higher ups are not. Train them, but these people, they have been serving for years. Nothing's going to change. There's no training, there is no policy that is going to make them put someone else above their own safety. Please do what is right. Please do what's right. Think about your loved ones. Think about them. These people should not be serving.
Okay, now, before we move into the next speaker,
Mr. Rubio, would you like?
I want to tell you what I know about those that were relieved of duty. Obviously, Pete Arredondo, the chief, he was terminated in August of the year of the shooting. Juan Maldonado, a Texas DPS sergeant, fired in October of the year of the shooting. Crimson Elizondo, a Texas DPS trooper and school police officer, she resigned, then was later hired by the Uvalde Consolidated Independent School District, but was fired the day after she was hired because the public was outraged.
Sure.
Christopher Kindle served preliminary determination notice, was given a termination notice in early 2023 for failing to perform. However, in late 2024, he was reinstated. Let's see. Daniel Rodriguez, Uvalde Police Chief, resigned in March of 2024. Mariano Pargas, Acting City Police Chief, resigned in November 2022 after reports highlighting his failure to assume leadership during the massacre. And of course, Adrian Gonzales, he left the department on his own even before he was indicted. So, okay, I think there's a couple of, first of all, part of the outrage here, and I don't know if they show it here. See the guy in the hat? That's the guy, right? That's the Austin guy. Let me see if I can find the point at which he basically gets up and leaves. So he didn't say very much, and the audience was told he's not going to respond. He's going to make his report, and then that's it. And at some point, let me see if I can find it here, because it was quite the interaction. No, he's still there. At some point, he just gets up and walks. He leaves. And parents went nuts, and they dragged him back in. No, I'm still seeing the man in the hat. Bear with me here. I think it's worth exploring that moment. Maybe it's not in this cut.
Yeah, look, you can't blame these parents. These 19
Oh, God, of
children
course
were
not.
lost.
Let's
Teachers
listen-
died. And
let's
remember,
listen to-
teachers also died. And 10 kids have the effect of being shot or shot out. I mean, you just can't blame the parents for this. I mean, I
Oh,
think
my God,
we'd
of
all
course.
feel the same way. I just
And
don't
here we
think
are.
that
what?
Mr. Gonzales was deserving of a guilty verdict.
Yeah, and we're almost 2 years out from this meeting. Doesn't get easier.
No.
They're still outraged.
Rogelio Irma Garcia and Eva Mireles.
I think she was speaking Spanish, so I jumped over that one. I don't have a translation gripped.
Ruben Zamora.
Good afternoon. My name is Ruben Zamora. Do y'all know who my daughter is? I think some of y'all do. My daughter was left for dead. Left for dead. And you said they did the right thing? I think right now you almost made me a believer in giving these officers a medal. I almost gave them a medal. I'm not trying to disrespect you or anything because that's not me, but it's disrespectful. I was sitting here. I rarely don't come to these meetings because I think there's other more things in my daughter's life more important. But you left or you told him to leave. We all sat here and let him read out whatever he had. I thought it was disrespectful for him to leave, and y'all let him leave. We're not gonna hurt him. We're not gonna hurt a police officer. It would have been done already. They need security.
So he had already left by now, right, Michael? And then
Danny-
he
Yeah,
had
I
to
must
come
have
back.
skipped over it. He left and came back. Yeah,
And if
they
it's
brought
right,
him
it's
back.
right. It's wrong,
And
it's
he
wrong.
said,
I
"You
work
all
in
let him leave."
the oil fields.
Yeah, well, they were yelling, "Get him back! Get him back in here!" But the lame assholes on the table there were just like, "Well, he wasn't going to say anything. That wasn't part of the job." But they succumbed to the pressure.
If I don't do my job, I get fired. Plain and simple. I signed up for a dangerous job. I know it's a dangerous job. And that's my job. I got to take care of my job. These police officers signed up to do a job. They didn't do it. I don't know what y'all can do other recommendations as well to Danny. I don't know, but something needs to be done because it's enough. It's enough, and thank you for whatever you did, but it was disrespectful at the end of the day, leaving the way you left.
And let me tell you just a little bit about as we wrap this part of our performance up here today. Let me give you a little bit of detail on this family's daughter. Maya Zamora, one of the 10-year-olds, shot 7 times. 7 times. She had 20 different surgeries over a 2-month period. And then, she's survived. Somehow she survived. She had gunshot wounds to her chest, her arms, both hands. She had skin grafts, physical therapy to regain movement. I mean, just amazing.
And thank you, medical professionals, healthcare professionals, childcare professionals, pediatrician professionals who took care of her. And now the parents are going to have to take care of her, though, for the rest of her life. And she's going to be living with this for the rest of her life.
Yeah. And so, you look at this in the context of a not guilty verdict against Adrian Gonzales. From what I heard and from the people that were identified, I'm not so sure they don't agree with the jury, balancing the sympathy and the pain they're suffering with the facts and the case against Adrian Gonzales.
But they're blaming a lot.
They're blaming others, a lot of others.
Not a lot of others. And we all are. I think we all are. And it's amazing and that's why I think the Adrian Gonzales is the scapegoat, and the chief will see, but he had different interactions. But what about everyone just standing around? What about everyone just standing? We're just standing there. 77 minutes just standing there. He had been contained at least to the far end of the building somehow. And then we heard this week, we heard on our earlier show, which we should put a link to, the 10-minute video that was put together.
Simulation,
The simulation, but hearing the shots, knowing that people are getting slaughtered and kids are getting slaughtered and killed, just terrible.
Yeah, and it was, the idea was, this was the prosecution's final bit of evidence through their expert, and that was to give everybody a context for who was where and when, and to suggest that Adrian Gonzales, again, didn't do enough. All right, so we haven't heard the last of this story.
No, but you and I believed. I think when we left, we said there was no way they were going to get a verdict. You said you could see maybe a hung, but there's no way they were getting a guilty verdict against Adrian Gonzales.
I felt that if there was a quick verdict, it would be not guilty, which is bizarre. That's not really kind of the way it goes, but it was about 9 hours, I think, which suggests that they did their job. They took their time, they went through what they needed to go through, and they came out with what I felt was the right decision. It's, but we knew going in, they had to overcome the overwhelming sympathy that comes from this case, and the feeling somebody's got to pay, somebody, for the loss of my child and all these children.
Now, I asked you a question earlier this week because you talked about the defense attorney. He had been a drug dealer when he was 22, right? And he went
That's Mr. LaHood.
Mr. LaHood went to law school, became the prosecutor in Bexar County. That's Bexar. And then was unelected. He wasn't re-elected, but this case was moved. So one of the questions I had for you was, oh my gosh, could people be on the jury who didn't vote for him to be reelected as prosecutor? But the answer would be no, because it's a different
because they didn't have
county.
that chance. Yeah, it was interesting to me in the post presser there, because we didn't know a lot about the voir dire and how that laid out. Because sometimes when you have a veneer, and that's the group of people in the potential pool, they do it in chunks. But he said they had 450 people in one room at one time. And obviously, there's a lot of mass questioning, and then they pare it down and get into finer questions. But every single one of them in Corpus Christi, and I haven't said the county name in a while, so I'll get it wrong. It's something like Neshua, I think, which is about 200 miles from Uvalde. And everybody in that room said, yeah, I know about this case. So,
and the question is, can you be fair?
Yes, and then of course the whittling down that number to those that are being honest and whether or not what they know affects their ability to be fair. I mean, that's the skill of the attorneys involved, and how much the court lets them get involved. Because sometimes, as you know, the court kind of truncates what the attorneys get to do.
Right, but the issue is when you're in the same county is that the jurors have to go back to people in that county, and they're living with the Uvalde parents, and not guilty is much harder when you're living with somebody than if you're the next
like
county
we know
over.
them.
And like we know them, even though I'm sure, as I said before, this jury needs PTSD counseling too, because I guess the pictures of all those children killed, the teachers killed, and it's got to be horrifying for the rest of their lives too. And not as horrifying as losing, obviously, a child.
Of course, but I guarantee it's something they'd rather not have dwelled on and dealt with. I think it's pronounced, thank you, Nosy Rosie. I think it's walnuts, technically. Nacious. It's I think it's either a Hispanic word or it's an Indian word. I can't remember which, but thank you. That's Corpus Christi. So.
And we had in our chat, we had people feeling different ways, and that's the beautiful thing about this show. We can agree to disagree. Okay. Obviously, when you're on a jury, you end up agreeing unless you're a hung jury. But we truly believe in the First Amendment here. We believe being respectful, and we understand people have different opinions here, and probably out in the community will have different opinions. But that's why we need to be able to talk about it without getting crazy about it.
Yeah, and I think in the chats, ours and others I looked at, it was pretty evenly split. With those that felt like somebody's got to pay, and others that were like, no, this is a scapegoat. This is wrong. A Linda fan.
Oh my goodness, great. Where did you meet me? I have to get closer because I can't have the small
It doesn't
computer.
say, it just says big fan.
Maria's call 9530. Please
Yeah,
let us know. Yeah, you can email me in at justiceservetv@gmail.com. So I'd love to know more. Thank you.
All right. Yeah, very nice. Okay, so tomorrow we have a comments show, the good, the bad, and the ugly, as we say. And yeah, there's a little of all of those things. We always appreciate folks taking the time to comment. Obviously, like, share, subscribe, join, be a member if that's what you're
And we learned
interested
something
in.
new. We learned something new. What's the button?
Oh yeah, the hype button. Yeah, the hype.
We'll talk
That's
about
the
that,
heart.
Michael.
That's
It's a
the heart. Is that
button.
right?
Yeah, it's a new button, and it's very important. Tell us about it. You practiced it yesterday. After
Yeah,
the show,
I don't know
I'm
what it
diming you
is
out.
or
You
does,
practiced it.
but it's a good thing. You know, it's a good thing. I guess it's better than a like. I have no idea. But yeah, if you're so inclined, hype us out there.
Hype us out there. All right. Thank you very much. Thank you. And yeah, maybe we'll talk about some of our cases. But remember, we have a lot going on the next 2 weeks in terms of cases. A lot of our scheduled, as we told you, we'll try to put some of it up on our X after we get through this week, after you get through the comment show, where we take the good, the bad, and the ugly. Too bad we get a copyright strike if we played the music.
Oh yeah. Domino has popped in. Yeah, I'm talking about you. Popped in to say hi. Okay, so have a great night, everybody. We'll see you tomorrow night for the comments show, and
it'll be a premiere.
Yeah, it'll be a premiere. Yes, it is. It is a premiere. In the meantime, please, as so many of the Uvalde parents said, try to do the right thing.